The last few of my videos have been some highly complicated topics with some controversial elements to them. So I thought this week we would talk about something that is lighthearted, easy to understand, and not controversial in any form or fashion. Cryptocurrency. Wait. That can't be right. Give me a second. Hey. Yeah, did you look over the script before sending it to me? Are you sure it's right? How on earth did any of those descriptors apply to cryptocurrency? Lighthearted, easy to understand, and not controversial. Yes, I'm looking through it now. Where the heck did you find this information? Logan Paul? Are you kidding me? Fine. No, I'm going to do this video, but first I'm going to rewrite the script, and then once I am done with it, we're going to have a serious talk about how you do your research. Okay? We got that? Okay. Don't trust auditors to write your scripts. Cryptocurrency is one of those things where people use big words or words in weird ways to make themselves sound smarter. It seems complicated, but once you cut out all the fluff words or say it in a way that a normal person could understand it, well, it's not really that complicated. I'm not going to say that it's never going to be easy to understand, but you should at least be able to comprehend the basic ideas of it. So what is cryptocurrency? Well, in the easiest way to understand, it's a certificate called a coin. You ever do a good job at work and they give you a piece of paper, employee of the month, some kind of random knickknack that says, good job? Now, that's it. In this case, the job is solving an equation. What kind of equation? We'll get back to that in a minute. The currency serves as the proof that the work was done. Calling that certificate a currency, though, that's a bit deceptive. Currency has an intrinsic value, even fiat currency like the US dollar. For clarification, a fiat currency is money that only has value because the state that issues it says it has value. A good number of the currencies of the world operate like this. The major thing to understand it is that there is something that backs the value of the currency, be it gold, silver, or the most powerful military in the world. Crypto doesn't have any of that backing it. In fact, it's got nothing backing it. And crypto is intrinsically worthless. Or at least as worthless as your employee of the month certificate. And we all know that that has less value than the paper it's printed on. Now let's talk about that equation. And crypto is all about secured transactions. They are secured through a transaction log called the blockchain. Those transactions are verified through solving an equation, which, for simplicity's sake, equates to the transaction history of the blockchain in a numerical value. This makes it to where each subsequent solution to the equation is harder than the last one to solve. The first person to solve the equation and verify the transactions gets the coin. Here's a good way to imagine it. You and your bank keep independent track of your transactions. That's probably a scary thought to some of you, thinking about all the things that you buy and that you want no one else to know about. I'm looking at you and I know exactly who you are, okay? So, you and your bank hire a third party to come verify the transaction history, who only gets paid once the verification is complete. They finish the job, get paid, and you and your bank have a single transaction history that is accurate. And that's the basic idea of how crypto works. In a vacuum, there isn't really anything bad about this system and how it works. Practical applications in data security, peer-to-peer sharing, and a whole host of other things is really cool. But it's expensive to operate and would almost exclusively be in the hands of closed gardens like data security firms and the like. So how do you reduce the cost and make it to where more people can use it? Clearly, you make it open source and you offload the work to someone else. But that takes it out of its vacuum. Now, some of you out there are probably wondering where all the money that is currently in crypto came from. Well, the easiest answer to that is speculation. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on the speculation into crypto because I don't want to make an hour-long video, especially when someone else has already done it and did it far better than I possibly ever could. So, down in the little doobly-doo down there is going to be a link to Folding Ideas video about it. But for those of you who don't want to go and watch it, I'll give a basic summary of events. After the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, the same people who caused that collapse were looking for a less regulated place to put their money and create speculation. In that search, they found crypto and hailed it as the new hotness to put your money into. And surely a group of people who historically created a bubble out of the largest single investment a person could ever make and served as one of the most stable markets to back and secure everything from government bonds to retirement plans and crashed it into oblivion, making home ownership one of the most unrealistic dreams for multiple generations, wouldn't go and do it again, right? Totally trustworthy people there. No reason to doubt them with your life savings. Again, the value of crypto can be seen similar to that of stocks. The major difference between the two is the fact that the value in crypto is completely artificial. Which, I mean, come on. It's an artificial currency. It's going to be artificial. Unlike stocks, there is no intrinsic value to crypto. In stocks, you're directly buying a stake within a company, and if you have enough or the company does well enough, you'll earn money back, in addition to the increasing value of the stock. With crypto, you're only betting on the speculation in that particular one you're investing into to increase. And since there really isn't anything that is backing it or giving it value, all you're really doing is betting on people not to realize that fast enough so that you can make money and cash out before it reaches its inevitable conclusion. In fact, we've already started to see this happen in a number of times in cryptocurrency markets. They hit the top of their bubble and they crash hard. As it stands, calling crypto anything more than a scam is just wishful thinking. And I do use the word scam in the most literal of senses. The majority of people who invest into it will never earn their money back. And more often than not, only stand to lose more money than they originally put in. Now, there's bound to be some people out there who are going to say something along the lines of, "You're not waiting long enough, have patience and trust in the process." Or, "You just don't understand it, man. That's why you're losing money." But what they're really doing there is gaslighting you to stick around with the scam. You see it in multi-level marketing schemes and other less savory industries that are just trying to extract as much wealth as possible from their users and advocates. If you look at the flow of money in crypto, it has this odd shape to it. And when you consider most crypto ventures either end up not delivering completely on their promises or just disappearing altogether along with your money, well, and that's it. That's the basics of crypto. I don't think that's going to be enough. If you were looking for a simple explanation as to what cryptocurrency is, then this is probably a good point to stop for you. But everything that's about to come next puts what it really is into context, because crypto doesn't exist all by its lonesome in a vacuum. What do you know about Web3? Usually when you hear about what Web3 is, people talk about what it could be and rarely talk about what it actually is, which should be enough to send up some red flags. When people talk about the possibilities of a product that should reasonably exist in full swing right now, then you know what they're talking about is divorced from the realities of it. And the realities of Web3 are, well, disappointing at best. Web3 is supposed to leverage the vast computing power of the decentralized blockchain to power everyday transactions, immersive worlds in the metaverse, and distribution of digital goods. The key words here are supposed to. In reality, what we get are tech demos like Facebook's metaverse and Decentraland. Although the people who are invested into these ecosystems will tell you at every turn that they aren't just tech demos, which is more gaslighting from the people who want to siphon your money. They tout these metaverse experiences as being just like Ready Player One, Sword Art Online, and Gamer. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those things, but the dystopian futures that they show off are not what I think of when I hear about technologies that are supposed to revolutionize society for the better. Heck, one of those is about people getting trapped inside of a video game where their lives are literally on the line and they have to struggle to survive until they can escape. Which is kind of what you have to do with crypto. Speaking of video games, it's not a coincidence that the media properties that are used to explain what Web3 will be like are all centralized around them. The play-to-earn model of video games is one of the major selling points for the system. All of my fellow gamers out there should be familiar with terms like free-to-play and pay-to-win when used in association with video games. Play-to-earn, or P2E, is just the next iteration on that model, with the games being intrinsically linked to cryptocurrency and its corresponding blockchain, so that your in-game currency has a value that can be exchanged for something of tangible value. Well, I guess it's not really tangible if you can't hold cryptocurrency. In most online video games, real money transactions, or RMT, is explicitly a violation of the terms of service, seeing as how you don't actually own any of the assets or items within the games. You have temporary ownership of your account, but it's subject to the terms and conditions of the game publisher. But that standard idea of operation flies in the face of the core principles of Web3. Personal ownership of digital goods. Now, I'm going to go on a small tangent real quick, but I assure you that it will have relevance once we get back on topic. Non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, are the digital goods that are talked about when it comes to Web3. You're probably imagining some stupid monkey or bad AI generated art right about now, simply due to the mentions of the words. They are treated like traditional art within the cryptobro mindset. You buy the painting of the Mona Lisa and you own the Mona Lisa. But with NFTs, the only thing that you really are buying is access to it. And usually that comes in the form of a URL or a hyperlink to an image that you can then download. But you don't actually own the image. That's not how copyright works. A term that is often thrown out is digital scarcity. It's the idea that all the things associated with the blockchain are unique and one of a kind. But if you spent any time on the internet, then you know that's not really true. All scarcity in digital goods is artificial, meaning that just as easily as they were originally produced, they can be reproduced infinitely. You don't control anything in association with that NFT. All the rights to it still belong to the artist, and if they wanted to sell access to the URL to anyone else, they still can. And if the web hosting for that image goes down, well, you're thousands of dollars out with nothing to show for it. So, getting back to video games here, all the individual items within a P2E game are NFTs. And since the games are based on the blockchain, every bit of currency that you get within the game, and by extension, every item that you get, has a dollar value that you can place on it. If we're being honest here, it's just a way of playing a video game using your real bank account for everything within the game without actually saying that you're doing it. They're bad gacha games with extra steps. And I'm not being facetious with that analogy. Much like the rest of Web3, P2E games suffer from overwhelming disappointment. The majority of them are glorified clicker games, or bad racing games, or collect them all gacha games. Logan Paul's Crypto Zoo, which has recently fallen to a huge scandal over it being a failed project turned scammed, was one such game. I knew I would work that intro back in somehow. And I am using the term game lightly here. It was pretty much a trading card game with no real game to it. Baseball cards. It's just baseball cards in digital form. But even for the games that are actually supposed to be games within the world of Web3, they almost always suffer from similar issues. The blockchains aren't designed to handle game operation, and the fast-paced environment of gaming is slowed down because of the inherent calculation speeds of the ever-expanding difficulty in deciphering the equations of the blockchain. So, what you're left with is an underwhelming gameplay experience of an unoptimized game designed to extract wealth from its player base with microtransactions and artificial scarcity that is used to induce continued play of the game in the hopes that you might be able to earn back the money you invested searching for rare drops and cosmetic items to customize your character with. It sounds familiar. Nexon is a South Korean game developer that sits as one of the top 3 gaming companies of the country. If you've been in the online gaming sphere since around 2006, you've probably heard of their hit game Maplestory. I know that all my friends and family have, and at this point they probably wish they hadn't. You may have also heard about them from some of their recent controversies, be it their predatory game design practices or their DMCA of Dark and Darker. But that's not what we're talking about today. Well, the latter isn't what we're talking about today. I don't care what Charlie had to say about the game or the company. There are plenty of reasons to criticize Nexon, and that ain't one of them. But we are definitely going to talk about their predatory practices. Maplestory is a game that took the world by storm in the early 2000s. For the longest time, they were considered to be innovators in the gaming industry. There's a lot of games that can trace their origins back to a number of things that started with this game. Most of us as players probably wouldn't necessarily consider them to be the best of innovations, but they absolutely did shape the gaming landscape. At that time, games like World of Warcraft were the largest names in the industry, but they were all pay-to-play models for online games. Running an online game is expensive if you haven't ever noticed. So they relied on monthly subscriptions and one-time purchases to play the game. Maplestory broke out onto the market being a free-to-play game with most of its finances taken care of with microtransactions that were purely cosmetic. At the time, they were by no means the first free-to-play game, but they were instrumental in making that the standard operation for much of the gaming industry. What they were the first of, though, was gacha games. Random chance rewards like loot boxes, character skins, and literally every mobile game that has come out in over the past 10 years can all trace their origins to how Maplestory monetized its player base. In the modern gaming sphere, we rightfully recognize the over-monetization of players through microtransactions like these as design flaws. But back when Maplestory came out, it was a way to get new games off the ground with an ease of access that a lot of other games just didn't have. You're not going to pay $60 for a bad game, but a free game can be justified for its bad features since you don't actually have to spend money on it. Now, why exactly am I talking about Maplestory and Nexon in a video about crypto and Web3? Well, there's 2 reasons for this, and the first is pretty easy to see the connection. Majority of the Web3 games function off of the gacha systems that Maplestory pioneered. The items and NFTs that you can get while playing the game are all ran through loot boxes and other similar styles of randomly generated rewards and loot tables. And in cases like Crypto Zoo, you're paying for each time that you use them to obtain your next NFT. I haven't personally seen a Web3 game that is supposed to be an actual game that doesn't use them in a similar fashion to that of Maplestory. Say what you will about gacha games and the mechanics that they introduced into the gaming sphere, it's something that's here to stay and probably aren't going to be getting rid of it anytime soon. Although there are attempts to rein it in all around the world right now. The second reason that we're talking about this is a much bigger issue in my opinion. Nexon has just recently announced that they are creating a P2E version of Maplestory. From what has been shown of Maplestory N, as it's being called, it's just Maplestory on the blockchain. This announcement should send chills throughout the gaming industry. Maplestory is a game littered with issues. Right now, Nexon is facing backlash from this game's community over the predatory practices that they have used for years, alongside a number of other issues that they've had with their openness about rates within the game, lack of communication with the people who pay to keep the game afloat, and more. And during what should reasonably be seen as a time of crisis for the company, given that Maplestory is their largest IP and brings in the majority of the company's money, they've decided to invest their money into cryptocurrency, Web3, and a carbon copy of the game to support that investment rather than using that money to actually address the issues of their game. And let's not forget that Nexon is still seen and treated as an innovator within the gaming industry. Their actions are seen and echoed throughout the industry at every turn. So if they're making these kind of dives into the world of Web3, imagine just how many more games and companies are going to follow suit, whether that be out in the open or behind closed doors. We're already complaining about games being predatory in nature, and if the gaming industry follows this move from Nexon like they have with most other things that they've done in the past, games are only going to become more predatory with lower quality when they're attached to the scam that is cryptocurrency and Web3. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and interact in any way that you can. Be that hitting the like button, leaving a comment, sharing it out to whoever you want to see it, any of that. It helps get my content out to more people and reaffirms that I'm actually doing good work here. It's like my own little personal certificate saying good job, but no one's paying me for it. Yet. And unlike crypto, my videos actually have a value to them. Let me know your thoughts on crypto and the gaming industry's move to embrace it down below. Anyways, until next time.